patuloy nating tinututukan ang bilangan ng boto sa katatapos lang na eleksyon sa Amerika, lamang ang Democratic candidate na si Joe Biden na may 253 Electoral College votes base sa CNN projections. 213 naman ang naitala para sa re-electionist na si Donald Trump. 270 electoral votes ang kailangan para manalo sa pagkapangulo. Dikit ang laban pero ngayon pa lang naghain na nagreklamo ang company Trump dahil sa umano'y dayaan. Kinwestiyon din niya ang pagbibilang ng mga mail-in ballots na huling dumating. Si Biden naman sinabing dapat mabilang ang lahat ng boto at manatili ang demokrasya sa Amerika. Sa puntong ito, kausapin natin mula sa Washington, D.C. si Irene Bueno, Senior Advisor sa Fil-Americans para sa Biden-Harris campaign. Good evening or good morning to you, Irene. Thank you very much for joining us.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, Irene, before anything else, you were in the Clinton White House and you were with the Hillary Clinton campaign. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What you did to get the immigrants to register and vote, especially the Filipino-American community, and how you helped turn red states into blue states.
Yeah, I think the Filipino-Americans for Biden-Harris were organized throughout the country. You know, Filipino-Americans are all over this country. They're in the battleground states of Nevada, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, Florida. And we all came together because we saw the need for a change in leadership in this country and to support Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So we organized from the people who've been in the involved in politics for a long time, like myself, to high school kids to organize because they were so motivated. We did phone calls. We called Filipino Americans in all those states. We even knocked on doors even during this pandemic, but of course, socially distanced, and we didn't do it until the very end. But we made sure that everyone was safe. But it was so important that Filipino Americans know how important it is to speak with their voice at the voting booth.
Irene, every 4 years, the world witnesses how the U.S. election system works like clockwork. Everybody's used to that, no? But because of this pandemic, something altered the landscape. Something changed things big time. The mail-in ballots. Can you explain to us why that was so important and what happened?
Yeah, I think the genesis for the mail-in ballots really around the country was because of the pandemic. There were so many people that were worried about going to the polls in closed areas, standing in long lines. And the other issue was that, again, it was just so important for people to make sure that their voices and their ballots were counted. So what we saw across the country is that states made it easier for individuals to vote by mail. Now, some states have a long history of voting by mail. For example, in some states, that's all they do. In Oregon, that's all they do is mail-in ballots. But in some states, it was a little newer. So you are seeing now that it's taking a little bit more time for those states to count their ballots. Also, some states had laws that said even though they received the ballot early, they could not begin counting until election day. So that's why we're seeing some delays right now.
Mm-hmm. But those mail-in ballots really got the vote out, huh? And but you know, people wonder, you know, what if several states did legislate that, did rule that you can only count the mail-in ballots on election day itself? No, then why was President Trump very angry about that?
That so many states began doing mail-in ballot. I think that he was, you know, I have to ask him, but I think he was concerned that that would actually allow more people to vote. And I think in that case, that would not bode well for him in this election. And as we've seen in this election, there was record number turnout to vote. And as we're seeing, the numbers do bear out that it is not in support of President Trump, but in support of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm. Well, when President Trump claims fraud and when he says that he wants a recount, and some of his lawyers actually filed cases in different states, how is the rest of the world supposed to see that? How are we supposed to look at that?
Yeah, it's really shocking. I mean, we are advocating for making sure that all the ballots are counted. And as I said, it does require time. But as you have seen on CNN and other networks, that they are allowing people to look and see what they are doing. There's transparency. We're making sure that the ballots are counted correctly. They're taking their time, and we must exercise patience. And the president is using that as a way to say that there's fraud. I think at this point he's doing everything that he can to ensure that he remains president. But I believe in our voters, I believe in our system, and that the true winner will prevail.
Will there be trouble in the streets? Just a few hours ago, like 12 hours ago, you had protesters outside a counting center in Phoenix, Arizona, for example. But will there be more of that? And, are things going to get violent?
I think I live in Washington, D.C., where stores all over the place and offices and buildings are boarded up. So it was very disconcerting because I have lived in this country all my life, and I've seen many, many presidential elections, and we have never had to do that. So I'm going to believe in the American people that we have a system of government where we have been able to transition to a new president peacefully every 4 years or every 8 years. And I'm going to believe in the American people that we will allow another peaceful change in government. But I cannot speak to everyone who is out there. It's also a free country. People are, what can exercise their freedom of speech, but at the same time, it cannot be violent. And we must use our voice to express our dissatisfaction.
Yeah, that's what the world, right? That's what the world has gotten used to. We have about 30 seconds left. Questions. What will a Joe Biden presidency look like? And is Biden White House or already?
Yes, I think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris administration will bring us back to a place where we can respect our president, know that he will rely on evidence and science to tackle really difficult problems like the pandemic. I think right out of the box, you will see them dealing with the pandemic. There's so much that we can do. We're seeing surging numbers of cases in this country, and it does not have to be that way. And I know Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have a plan to contain this virus. They will have a way to make sure that we can bring this economy back and make sure that people can get back to jobs. My daughter can go back to school, but it will take some time. But I believe that he has what it takes to do that. And I think that's what the country is saying today by voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Advisor to Filipino-Americans in the Biden-Harris campaign. Thank you. Maraming salamat.
Thank you. Salamat.